Alrighty, so I am Kaylin, and this is my presentation, my professional development presentation over students with ADHD. So first of all, what are some of the statistics with ADHD? Well, there are 6.1 million students between the ages of 2 and 17 diagnosed with ADHD currently in the United States. And this poll was done in 2016. That's the most recent numbers I could find. There's an estimate of 388,000 children between the ages of 2 and 5 years old diagnosed with ADHD. Around 4 million children between the ages of 6 and 11 years old diagnosed with ADHD, and 3 million children around the ages of 2 to 17 years old diagnosed with ADHD. And it's not just children who are affected, adults can have ADHD as well. So is this number increasing? It is, but kind of. It depends on how you look at it. They believe that the prevalence is increasing, which is the number of cases within 100,000 people. And right now the number is believed to be at 10.2%. Some of the reasons why there is an increase is smoking, drinking, some blue light emissions from phones and laptop screens that we have today, maybe some medications, lead, pesticides, sleep deprivation, poor nutrition, and genetics. Genetics play a key role in whether or not your child will have ADHD. So the next point is the characteristics of ADHD and how a child is diagnosed. So inattention. Inattention is characterized by the failure to give their full attention to tasks and people talking to them. They make careless mistakes in their schoolwork and they don't put in their full work. They don't listen when directly spoken to. They have issues on organizing tasks and assignments. They often lose things. They get distracted very easily and they're really forgetful. So some of the numbers you need to diagnose, for children up to 16 years of age, they need to have at least 6 of these symptoms or more. And then for people that are 17 years of age or older, 5 or more of these symptoms have to be prevalent. And these symptoms have to be present for at least 6 months before they are tested. So if they're there for 6 months or more, then most likely they will be diagnosed with ADHD. The next one is hyperactivity and impulsive actions, which includes fidgeting, squirming in the seat, or leaving the seat when they don't need to. Being unable to sit or play quietly. They talk a lot. They often interrupt people before they're done finishing their sentences. They blurt out answers before the questions are even finished being asked, and they really can't wait for their turn. And just like the last one, the numbers to diagnose is you need 6 or more of these symptoms for children up to age of 16, 5 or more symptoms for children 17 years or older up into adulthood, and these symptoms need to be present for at least 6 months. The next topic is how ADHD affects the student and how it affects different children in different ways. So how ADHD affects children in school. Children with ADHD fail more grades and assignments, and there is an increased suspension and expulsion rate because of their tendencies to act out. There's an increased dropout rate, and there is a lower college completion rate. Some ways to help with your students, especially in grade school. Do the more difficult lessons earlier in the day. It is known that students with ADHD, they start off their day pretty well, and then throughout the day they get more bored, more easily distracted, and they just lose all their focus as the day continues. So do the harder, more lengthy lessons earlier in the morning, and then do the more fun activities in the day. You could also add breaks to help their brains kind of reset and allow themselves to refresh before you start another difficult topic. Give really specific and direct directions for one task at a time. They have to be blank and simple and really straightforward so they don't forget or they completely understand what you are asking of them. You can structure the environment to their needs. So maybe, I'm not saying like don't set them off by themselves, but maybe set them with some students who understand and who will encourage them to stay focused and keep on task. Just kind of put them in an area where you know that they'll be able to get their work done well. And then you need to vary the pace of the activities. Students with ADHD get bored really easily. And so if you have a long assignment and then another long assignment, they're probably not going to do well on either one of them, and especially on the second one. So maybe have like a longer assignment earlier in the day, and then have like a small vocabulary assignment, and then have a really fun activity next, and then continue with the next long assignment. You just need to vary your activities, or else they're going to get bored and distracted easily. And ADHD does not affect every child the same way. There is 3 main types of ADHD. There's just children who are hyperactive and impulsive, where they only show the hyperactive and impulsive symptoms. There's the inattentive types, where they only show the inability to pay attention and symptoms along those lines. And then there's the combined, which usually those children show all of the symptoms all the way across the board. And some children could be the combined type, but they won't have the same symptoms as some other students. One student could be really good at paying attention and focusing, but sometimes they just forget things without purposely, like they're just completely forgetful. Whereas another one can purposely ignore you or zone off. It also affects boys and girls differently. Girls will be less likely to thrash out or interrupt people or do impulsive behaviors. They just daydream and kind of zone off, and they talk a lot. So there's a difference between boys and girls as well. The next topic is how ADHD is classified under IDEA. But before I continue, ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. I didn't mention that earlier, so sorry. So what exactly does ADHD classify as? ADHD is not considered a learning disability, but it is classified as an other health impaired disability according to IDEA 2004. And here's some statistics on like people who are affected by ADHD, if they can have another type of learning disability, which many of them actually do. So 20 to 30% of students with ADHD suffer from another learning disability, whether it's dyslexia or some other type. I know both of my brothers actually have ADHD, but my youngest brother has ADHD and Asperger's, which is a type of autism. So he has a learning disability, but he also has the ADHD trait. ADHD can also bring on Tourette's, which is really hard to determine because some people might think that they just have the spontaneous behavior or the impulsive behavior. But as they get older, the Tourette's may stay with them through adulthood. So that's just kind of a different type of disability. People with ADHD can also suffer from anxiety and depression, which I thought was very interesting because later in my presentation, I will explain some of the positive traits. And children with ADHD can be spontaneous and really happy. So seeing that a lot of them suffer from depression is very interesting to me. It makes sense though, because like I said, there's a high dropout rate in school, and a lot of them are expelled or suspended because of actions that they can't control because of their issue. So, like I said previously, here are some positive traits to ADHD. Children with ADHD are really creative. They're spontaneous and they're really flexible because they like a change in their schedule. So if something in their life changes, they will be more willing to accept it. And they have a lot of drive to complete tasks, especially if there's a challenge or maybe a reward. So there is positivity to this disability. There is positivity in ADHD. And then here are some of my citations. I had 8 of them, and thank you for watching. This was my presentation over ADHD.